Some of you know that while this is mostly a LEGO channel, in the past I have done video game related videos, and since it's the end of a console generation, I would like to do some more this year. It's an exciting time in the gaming world as new consoles hopefully release this fall, and with this 3-part video series, I'm taking a look back at the games Xbox has offered during the Xbox One lifecycle. When I say that, I do not necessarily mean console exclusives. I mean games that Microsoft has brought to the gaming table from the end of 2013 until now. Some of these came to PC, some came to the Nintendo Switch. Some of these were great and some not so good. Some were remasters, some were indie titles. This is an attempt to see the entire console cycle for Xbox's gaming efforts, but I won't cover every single game as there are a handful of smaller titles and indie titles that were not impactful in my opinion, and I also won't be covering the Kinect games as the Kinect was quickly phased out and there weren't many Kinect titles. I also won't include games that had specific year-long exclusivity contracts like Rise of the Tomb Raider or Dead Rising 4. There will also be no spoilers. This video is completely my own opinion. If you agree or disagree, that is fine, but any profane or vulgar comments will be removed, so please keep it civil. On each video I have about a minute of footage that I recorded on an Xbox One X, and I will explain a bit about each game and who developed it, the impact it may or may not have had, and lastly some of the review scores it received, and then my own score. This first video will cover the games released in 2013 and 2014, the first years of the Xbox One cycle. So please, sit back and enjoy. Thanks for watching. First up, we have launch titles. Forza Motorsport 5 was released as a console exclusive on November 22, 2013, and the name Forza will be showing up quite a bit during this series. Motorsport 5 is a racing game developed by Turn 10 and was a good kickoff title to show what the third generation of Xbox consoles was capable of visually. It plays well, looks great, and offers an expansive list of cars to explore and drive. While I personally enjoy the Forza Horizon series more, Motorsport is an impressive title for car enthusiasts everywhere that simulates the driving experience of many types of cars. The game recreates many real-world racing locations. The inclusion of vehicle challenges, various racing modes, online play, and local play made this a great launch title with a considerable amount of content. The game seemed to sell well and improve the Forza series as a serious racing contender amongst all other racing series for the new generation. It received a 79 from Metacritic, an 8.8 from IGN, a 6.0 from Metacritic users, and I score it a 7 because while it is an impressive and fun driving title, I felt it is a bit stiff in its presentation and career mode. Killer Instinct was another launch title on November 22nd that also made its way to Windows on PC in 2016 and Steam in 2017. Killer Instinct is a revival of the fighting series made by Rare in the 90s. This entry was developed by Iron Galaxy and employed a free-to-play mode as well as options to purchase the entire title or individual characters. The game was released across 3 different seasons spanning about 4 years. It is the only fighting game on this entire list and was supported for years and offered a fun roster of characters and environments that could be played locally or online. New characters included the Arbiter, Rash, and General Ram. Additional single-player content was added as time went on. The game is reported to have had over 10 million unique players over its lifetime. This game is difficult to give one rating to, as it drastically changed from launch versus the final definitive product, so I will show the scores it received at launch and the scores the definitive edition later received. Killer Instinct received a 73 at launch from Metacritic and an 86 later. IGN scored the game an 8.4 at launch, players gave it a 6.3, and later a 7.7, and I give the game an 8 out of 10 overall. It is a fun, engaging fighting game with awesome narration during combos and lots of content to fight through. Rise, Son of Rome joins the previous 2 as a release title on November 22nd and later released on Windows in 2014. It is a third-person action title developed by Crytek, a studio known for high-end graphics, and that seems to be what this game was meant to be, a showcase for next-gen visuals. It succeeds on that front as it looks excellent, includes a lot of choreography, and has some impressive set pieces throughout the campaign. However, Rise struggles with its gameplay. It is not very captivating after an hour or 2 of play for most players. The combat features a lot of quick-time events, which grow old if used too often. The campaign is several hours long and tells an entertaining story of a Roman soldier trying to save his dying kingdom. There is also plenty of multiplayer action in various Colosseum settings, and that is a fun experience, whether playing solo or in online matchmaking. The game must not have sold as much as expected as Crytek suffered financial difficulties shortly after, and no sequel was ever made. Metacritic gave the game a 60, IGN a 6.8, users a 6.2, and I give it a 7 out of 10 because it was a technical showpiece in 2013 and told an interesting story from history not often seen in games, but ultimately fell short on an engaging gaming experience. Dead Rising 3 is the fourth launch title to be evaluated on this list and was released on November 22, 2013 for Xbox One and Windows in 2014. This is the third title in the series, was developed by Capcom, and it is a third-person action-adventure game. I played through the game on Game Pass a ways back, but only had the demo available for recording. The big technical feature that stood out in this Dead Rising entry on Xbox One was the number of enemies the player would encounter. In 2013, it was impressive how many zombies could be on the screen at once. The city felt alive and full of danger everywhere. There were a lot of creative, customizable weapons, people to rescue, and over-the-top boss fights. On the negative side, while it may have been a creative direction, I did not care for how dark and grimy the setting is. Gameplay felt quite stiff compared to other action titles, and other than a few creative moments, the overall game started to feel repetitive after a few hours. A fourth entry was later made, so this title likely sold well enough, as roughly 2 million copies were sold. Metacritic gave a 78, IGN an 8.3, users a 6.9, and me a 6 out of 10. I guess it just wasn't my cup of tea, as I score it somewhat less than others due to my previous reasons. The fifth and final launch title to discuss is Zoo Tycoon, released on November 22nd and also released on Xbox 360. The launch version was developed by Frontier Developments, and an ultimate version of the game was released in 2017 for Xbox One and Windows that included enhancements and additional content, and it was developed by Asobo Studios. As it was a launch title, it was built for usage with the Kinect, but the ultimate version removed all those features, making it easier to navigate and more enjoyable. The game sees the player trying to build a successful zoo with a variety of animals and entertainment. The player can explore the park down on the ground and interact with animals, or they can switch to an overhead view to build and design the park. It's a fun business sim as far as console adaptations go, and it is also a great family-friendly game for little kids, but consequently may not be entertaining for those interested in more story-driven or mature content. Similar to Killer Instinct, I will show the original review scores and then the score given for the Ultimate Edition. Metacritic gave it a 68 and later a 70, IGN gave a 5.5 on the original, users gave it a 3.1 and then a 6.1. I give the game a 6 out of 10 as it is a fun family-type simulator, but doesn't offer much more than that even after getting an enhanced version. Stand by for Titanfall, which dropped on March 11th, 2014 for Xbox One and Windows, and a 360 port was released April 2014. It was developed by Respawn as their first project. I love this game. To me, it was the first truly next-gen experience at the time. As the bay door opens and the player drops down to the battlefield at the start of a match, this game immediately brought the player into the experience. The first-person shooting mechanics play as smoothly as any other game, and couple that with the fluid parkour traversal and the massive mech gameplay while playing as a Titan, and you have yourself an outstanding game. I felt powerful as just a regular pilot, and I felt powerful as a hulking Titan, and that is a hard balance to achieve, but it worked. The big criticism of this game was the lack of single-player story or not enough overall content in the game package. Respawn wove in an attempt at a campaign that utilized online multiplayer, but it just didn't work. Regardless of that, I found Titanfall to be very exciting and rewarding to play, and the game was a success as it had over 7 million players, and a sequel followed 2 years later. Titanfall received an 86 on Metacritic, an 8.9 from IGN, 7.8 from users, and I give it a 10 out of 10. Great job Respawn on delivering an amazing title that I poured over 100 hours into. Forza Horizon 2 released September 30, 2014 for Xbox One and Xbox 360. The One version was developed by Playground Games and the 360 port was done by Sumo Digital. It is an open-world racing game which separates it from the Motorsport series. The opening mission of this game draws the player right in, as it seamlessly transitions from a cutscene to driving a Lamborghini Huracan down the coastline of France and Italy, the setting of this game. There is a tremendous amount of activities to complete, races through cities and across the countryside, playlist challenges, and event races where the player takes on planes, trains, and more. Doing this increases the player's standing in the Horizon Festival and earns money to purchase vehicles and customization options. I am not a big car person, but this game had me hooked right from the start. There is also a broad variety of music channels to listen to. Multiplayer is also available. An expansion was released that featured inclement weather, and a Fast and Furious standalone tie-in was launched. Not sure how well it sold, but 2 sequels to this title were released and will be discussed later. Metacritic gave an 86, IGN gave a 9.0, Users gave an 8.3. I give this title a 9 out of 10 as it is a welcoming racing experience to all and is fun every step of the way. Project Spark came out on October 7, 2014 for Xbox One and Windows. It is a digital canvas for creating games and it was developed by Team Dakota. It was free to play and players could share their own creations or download the creations of others. I remember playing a handful of fun, simple games when Project Spark launched, games similar to Geometry Wars and Pac-Man. While it was somewhat simplistic and clunky, creators could make some great games. The creation tools allowed specific details, or the player could take a more procedurally generated approach. The creation tools were all there for everyone. The mascot from Rare, Conquer the Squirrel, was added with a short campaign, and the band Linkin Park had a music video experience created in Project Spark. Unfortunately for Project Spark, in 2016 Microsoft announced that the game would be removed and online services were shuttered. It is only available to those who downloaded it previously. The assumption can only be that either the community's support for the game died, or it was too expensive to justify keeping online. Metacritic gave a 73, IGN an 8.0, users a 6.9, and I give Project Spark a 6 out of 10, as it is a unique experience offered by Xbox that had some merits, but still felt clunky and difficult to go all in as a game. Sunset Overdrive released on October 28, 2014, and came to PC in 2018. It is an action-adventure third-person shooter developed by Insomniac Games. If you have an Xbox or PC and haven't played Sunset Overdrive, go change that. This game is fresh, wild, and bombastic. Breaking the fourth wall is what this game's script is all about. Sunset Overdrive plays like a zombie apocalypse scenario, but treats the player like a superhero as players take on the evil corporation that wrecked the city and created roving gangs of survivors and machines. Traversal, weapons, amps, and customization let the player feel awesome. The game launched with an excellent campaign and a unique multiplayer mode for up to 8 players that had playlists of various challenges and culminated in a huge tower defense battle. The game is a technical success, featuring a huge open world and tons of enemies rushing at the player. 2 excellent DLC expansions were released that added missions, weapons, enemies, and moves. Unfortunately, this game did not generate great sales and no sequel was ever made. Metacritic gave an 81, IGN gave a 9.0, users gave a 7.8, and I give a 9 out of 10. This is a fun, over-the-top game that lets you feel great and laugh while you blow your enemies away with fireworks and oxygen tanks. Halo: The Master Chief Collection launched on November 11, 2014. At launch, the game was a compilation of Halo 1, 2, and 3, which were developed by Bungie, and Halo 4, which was developed by 343 Industries. The collection itself is assembled and developed by 343. It is a first-person shooter with enhanced graphics and performance for each game, and Halo 2 received an anniversary remaster for the collection. As it is 4 incredible games in one, it is jam-packed with content. The campaigns play excellently, as do local co-op and multiplayer. The problem with the collection at launch was the online multiplayer. Matchmaking was very broken for a long time. When it worked, it was fun and nostalgic, but usually it was a struggle. Halo 3 ODST was released shortly after launch as an apology for the broken matchmaking, bringing the game collection to 5 games. But there was one glaring omission from the main Halo series, and the Chief Collection will be revisited again to discuss that subject. For 2014 and the next few years, single-player and co-op were excellent for Halo fans. The game was likely a serious financial success and saw plenty of players then and now. Metacritic gave an 85, IGN a 9.0, users gave a 7.5, and I give an 8. I love the campaigns, but the multiplayer was launched as a broken product. I'll come back to the Master Chief Collection again. So those are the titles offered by Xbox in 2013 and 2014, the first stage of this console generation. A few shooters, a few racing titles, a few third-person action games, a fighter, a business simulator, and a game creator make up the first 2 years, so there's some variety provided. Stay tuned to see what's next for the years 2015 through 2017. Thank you for watching. Please share your thoughts in the comments.